Hello, everybody. Welcome to Justice Served Daily. I hope everybody is doing well. I have Miss Page up here with me today.
Hi,
Hello, Miss
everyone.
Page.
Hello.
We have we've been going crazy and worried like crazy, so we thought a show would probably help us out.
I mean, what else do we do other than talk
Right.
about it?
It's like every time we talk about it, we're like, we should be live talking about this stuff. We do so much of it in the background. We're like, this could be a show if we were actually doing this live at the time. So
here we are.
hello, Mr. Shane is here.
Hi, Shane.
We just love you, Shane.
Hello.
And so I know that today, they came out and said that they hadn't made a judgment yet. And,
no
and a lot of times you can kind of tell which way a judgment's going to go based on the amount of time it also takes. And so that's interesting. And then we've also heard about that there are people who are showing up in Delphi now with signs.
Handmade signs.
Yeah, homemade signs. And although there are signs for Abby and Libby, they seem to be right now outnumbered by support of Richard Allen signs. So that's what's going on. So hello, Cryptex.
Hi, Cryptex.
So yes, we're going to go through some info, some discussion and stuff about some items, and specifically also about I went out, my visit out to the trails, and it turned out to be a way even more so emotional than I would have even imagined. Like you always think it's, emotional, but when you get out there and you're there, and that we're hopefully closer to this all being over. I know that Libby's grandmother, Becky Patty, had posted for, prayers and stuff while the jury and stuff is doing all this. So
Carrie did too, Libby's mom. Yeah.
And so, I just really hope that, everybody is hoping and praying for them, and that they get answers and stuff too. So
and that's what we were talking about as well, wasn't it, JSC? And this is the whole reason for the video, is we were trying to put ourselves in the jury's state of mind.
Exactly. And when we all hear stuff or hear certain witnesses that come up, I mean, the big thing is some of the people that I did on my missing witness videos popped up, right? The defense called some of them. Flannel shirt guy was called up, Cheyenne and stuff was called up. So I find it interesting that, but I
because we have looked into this for a very long time, so that's what we're trying to put together, is what if we didn't know anything and we were just a jury member sitting there hearing this info for the first time,
right? And that's what kind of that we're going off of. So I'm going to go through images. I know for me, I'm a very visual person, and I thought that I could show just show some images, a couple little short little videos of the trail and things like that, and show you some observations of how any of the witnesses would have come across
Mm-hmm.
Bridge Guy, aka Richard Allen, right? And try to get a better sense. I think, I had shown stuff in this to Paige when I came back, and actually I tried to call her at the end of the bridge, and then but I called her, and she got to be live in Delphi.
Yeah.
She got to be live from the call itself, from all the way
I
from
could
Wales
see
to
it.
be there. So yeah, so it was. I think she says she enjoys the perspective of looking at it better. So,
Absolutely.
and
Because, no matter how many times you look at someone else's videos or helicopter footage or Google Maps or anything like that, it's totally different when you know someone who has physically been there, has seen things for themselves, and can describe things to you and show you. And that's what JSD did. So I think it was really insightful, like the things you saw and the surroundings, and yeah,
yeah, it was definitely interesting, and that's why I wanted to share with you guys and kind of explain through it. And
yeah,
if there's any questions, I'll be kind of flipping through the photos and stuff like that. But if you do have any questions or something like that, if you post them, I know that Paige will kind of stop me and let me know.
yeah,
Um, and so, yeah, so let me go through this with you guys and show you what we have here. So, obviously, as you guys know, I love the maps and stuff like that. I love doing, kind of getting an idea, because also, as you know, I've been tracking, the predators and stuff who've been arrested and things like that in the area, and also showing you guys, for example, where Richard Allen lives and all that kind of stuff too. And I still have the Google Maps, which, by the way, don't let me forget. I just thought about this. I was going to show about the Save a Lot and stuff like that too, which I just
um,
thought about that. So,
I didn't
um,
think, yeah,
so this is going to be me showing you the trip out here to the Monon High Bridge, and then showing you some stuff, and then we're going to talk about a few things through this of the case, and then also we're going to go through the very specific things that the state does have, right?
mhm.
We will try to not make this a bitching about what the state doesn't have right now. And by the way, heads up, in addition to the Orion Dan Dolan video I did way back when, I will be doing a whole nother Dan Dolan video piece again,
A
because
timeline of sorts.
oh my god, yeah. So I just
Yeah,
want to point that out too, just to prepare you guys for that.
because
Um,
things are crazy.
yeah, and I need to. There's just stuff that isn't adding up on that. So anyway, this video is, or I'm sorry, this image I'm going to be showing you is me going towards the Freedom Bridge, and I'll be parking over at the Freedom Bridge parking lot, which is where the teenage witnesses were parked, um, and came from, and why they were crossing. So I'll be coming off of this. They also call it Main Street, but be going off here and then turning onto 25 to get back here. So, and this is a closer map version of it first. So as you can see, so be coming up the highway here, and you'll see where it kind of splits, and you take a left off of East Main, and then have to take an immediate right to go on 25 and to keep heading north on 25 in order to park here. So this is approaching that. This is the bridge coming up to 25. Hold on, I'm trying to get this fixed. There we go. And sorry, want to make sure I've got this correctly. All right. Always the wrong side. There we go. So as I'm approaching, coming up here, when I get up on 25 here, this is regular road. This parking lot, considering it's like this MONON Headbridge Trail, this is all gravel. And even the parking lot itself, which has very little spots, is just gravel. And then it starts that walkway then to go to the bridge. So after getting in that parking lot, when you first get out, you can see the left side are images like going towards the bridge itself, right?
Yeah.
And then what the bridge looks like. So this is going to be the main, very nice area for the bridge and stuff itself. Now, when I'm crossing the bridge, I gave some images of that you can see down on the highway directly. And as I continue to approach this, now I'm pointing this out because this over to the side is where I'll show you where Richard Allen would have approached from the trail and where he encountered the teenage girls.
Mm-hmm. And this is a very open area, as you can see.
Yeah, when you're so this right here, it's so flat. So when you're sitting there, you can see the buildings and stuff across the way so easily. So the CPS building being up here would have been very easy to see, but the CPS building where it was parked, remember that's where the Richard Allen's car, they said, was backed into. He would have walked down here and he would have come off another little side route off of 300 to get to this main area. So again, here's just a closer up. He would have come off of 300, walked up here, right? Or there's also like a little pathway here, but could walked up here into this area. You could also walk up to the side and come through here. But so this is the area I'm going to show you. This is closer up. Okay, so I wanted to show you from the side. This is how you can see cars and how easy the highway. So this is the end of the bridge. I'm near the trail itself. And there's the highway. There's a sign right there. So I'm on the other side. You can see the 2 lanes of the highway that was shown on the map behind us. Here's, again, this far side of looking how easily you can see cars. And remember the witness who saw the teenage girls crossing that bridge. Well, it's very easy to see somebody standing on that bridge and crossing.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously I can see the cars and stuff pretty easily too. So here on the map, I put a red dot where that is, where I'm taking these photos at the time. So now, from that point now, I'm going to start walking through the trail itself.
Yeah.
So one thing I wanted to point out, and I know that I had shared this with Paige, of how narrow this path is. So if you guys look, it is extremely narrow. Now, this wasn't all paved and stuff like this before, but it's extremely narrow. So when you're walking this path, I want you to imagine that the girls, now Richard Allen would have been heading the direction I'm heading now, and they would have been heading out. And I'll show you where I believe they were taking their pictures before, that had the timestamp on it beforehand. But look how close you would be as you pass somebody.
Yeah.
So, it's, I mean, you're so close. Now, I did have encounters where there was a few times that passed people, and you're like, wow, you've got to kind of move over to the side to let these people
Yeah.
pass.
You're literally at arm's length with one another. Like you could, if they both reached out their arms from one side to the other, you would probably touch.
So this is just a quick video, just to show, when you listen, because of where it is on the trail, you can also hear the highway very easily as you listen to this. So as you can hear the car, you can also, and not all the leaves are down, right? But my God, you could hear the leaves pretty easily. And I know that's one thing that they even talked about in the video.
Yeah.
Now, this little short, very, very short video is when you're first walking on the trail, it is not thick at all to the left, right?
Not
So,
done. No.
so you are basically behind houses, and it's kind of a drop off, as you can see in this video. And I took this really quick video of just showing how easily you could look up. So the right is thicker, more cliff, like kind of almost in certain parts, to go down. And then, but the left hand side, you're right there on property. And as you walk, there's little signs every few houses that they put back there that basically says this is private property. So I'll just play this again. It was a really short clip just to show you the houses. So continuing through, this is over to the right. Again, another shot of just the trail itself, how narrow the trail itself is. And Cryptex, I see that. You know what? I didn't meet other creators. I did message a bunch of them. Obviously, I know a bunch of the creators. Obviously, mostly the bunch of Indiana creators who are out there, and some other people who are covering the case. I have not gone out to try to sit in the trial outside in 11 and 12 hours just because of, and it's really sad, just because of health purposes itself. I can't do it. I can't sit outside for 11 and 12 hours waiting. So yeah, but I did not get to meet them, although we communicate all the time, a bunch of us. And there's some really great people I've met. And I'm hoping, I'm trying to scheduling time that when this verdict comes in, drinks, one way or the other, regardless, one way or the other, drinks involved. So as you go further through here, there's like this, I want to call it like an overlook kind of thing, but basically there's a clearing over to the side on the trail that is beautiful. It goes way down. I'll show you on the map and stuff too. There's a bench and stuff where you'll see being approached, and it's just really long, really gorgeous. I mean, the time of year that this is going on, fall in Indiana is beautiful. And you can go up to this, nice newly fenced up area here to stand. Great view for pictures. So I'm showing you now on the map where the red dot is where this is located. So back here, you saw where we came down, came through the trails. You saw the back of the houses, right? The pictures that took the back of the houses, because it's very narrow and it's very high. It's not flat. So that comes down, and then you go, and then right here is just a beautiful, overlook kind of area that's just cleared some, that you can, stand there, or there's a bench there, and you can look at Deer Creek. And if you look on 300 in where this location is, it is basically, down from where the Hoosier Harvestore would be, which is across the way on 300. But I'm not even to the, pathway of where the trail split itself. So when we think of Richard Allen passing girls and how narrow that pathway is that I'm showing, and that the girls took some photos and it was timed, so that's how they know what time it was. And then they continue walking down the trail, and that's when they encounter him. Well, if you think about it, think about how close by that they would have passed this man and why you said hi. And I will tell you, being out there, the one thing that was interesting is the several people that had passed. Well, guess what? I mean, people are polite, and there was not anybody who did not say hello, and that I did not also say hello to as passing by. That's just a natural thing. So, especially how close you are. So it really makes me think, Paige, when they talk about somebody who's not friendly, if you're that close and somebody says hi to you, you're generally going to just say hello just to be polite, right? But if you're hiding your face and you're trying to not be seen,
also, the type of person I am, like I walk to work a lot, and I do walk usually on a very narrow path where someone has to kind of stop and let the other pass by. We can't kind of walk past each other. And I am the type of person who does like smile at the other person, say thank you, talk to them, say hello. And I do notice, if someone does seem a bit rude, or doesn't look at me, or doesn't say thank you, or doesn't say hi, or anything, doesn't smile, that sticks in my mind. So, when these young girls are going for a walk, they could have seen other people that did interact with them in some way and it was positive. And they noticed this guy was clearly in some sort of mood.
Right. And so, one, I wanted to not only share all these images with you guys, but also kind of give you guys the thought process of the witnesses. And I really, as we go through this, and then we're going to like recap only what the state evidence has, what they have. And when we think about it, I need you to clear your mind and pretend you have never heard anything about Delphi. And as we go through those points, then I want you to think, is that enough? I knew my dog would bark. Is that enough? Same dog, always out of the two, to convince you. So again, we're here at this overlook. Down here where this line is across, you see there's Hoosier Harvestore, but there's the Mears Farm. And that entrance is where Kelsey dropped off Abby and Libby.
Yes. So that's where they would have entered the trail.
Right. So I'm not even there yet, not even to that point.
Yeah.
But I've done this. And this part here would be so narrow, would be right behind people's homes, would be still, lots of sound from the highway that you heard. So
yeah, and it's just like if Abby and Libby were walking together, you know, usually you and your friend, you'd walk side by side, right? You know, when you're walking together on a trail. But if somebody walks past you, maybe you'll be like single file. So one will go behind the other. Like that's how narrow it is. You can't really have Abby and Libby walking next to each other and then somebody else walking side by side. There isn't enough room.
and so when you look down here, you're able to see Deer Creek and, you know, the rocks and stuff. And again, it's a very large slant from it. So as you can see over to the left, there's a bench that's right there.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, one of the things that made it very emotional is it's so beautiful. It's just so beautiful. If you like going out walking and doing trails or
Mm-hmm.
anything like that, to go out there and to see it, it's just
Well,
so beautiful.
it makes sense that people frequented there regular, like Betsy Blair went there multiple times, you know, several times a week. And that day she did a couple of loops, you know, she went there several times. It's a
Cryptic says the
beautiful
dog
place.
wants to hear my theory as soon as possible.
He does. We've said this from the beginning. He always barks when we talk about true crime, and it's because he loves true crime. He always has something to say.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this is looking down. You can see as you look down in this area and then going towards the end of it. And I don't know if you can tell the signage didn't turn out so clear, but again, look how narrow this is. If I'm walking past you, you are going to see me very clearly, very easy. And especially, I know you notice me if you say hello to me, right? If you acknowledge me, then I
Mhm.
know that you've seen me.
Yeah, and if someone is kind of rude or ignores you, you're gonna kind of remember that too.
Yeah. So, I mean, and I hope these aren't deceiving in trying to even think that they're even like wide as a road, because they're not. So finally approach over near the area where Abby and Libby were dropped off. Come on now. And this is where the trail splits. And this is a short little video of me just, I'll view to the left that shows where they came from, which is all gravel, total gravel to walk through that whole area. Again, this is for the Mears Farm, so I'll show to the left. And then to the right, when I show a signage after the video, you'll see the sign is over to the right, and it kind of splits, but there's a bench that sits right there too, behind it. Reach the part in the split where Abby and Libby were dropped off. There's their memorial. The trail, two trails split, the sign showing which trail you can choose. Oh. Like I said, it was very, very emotional to see it. You can see the bench that sits right there.
Yeah.
Kind of supposed to overlook, but honestly, the trees block so much. It's so here on the map with the red, this is again now where I'm across the trail part. There is across from the Mears Farm. Shows that trail that came here, shows an overlook kind of thing that's supposed to be there, but it's just that bench. I don't even know why they honestly have it there, but you can't see it. So now we're going to be going down farther to the MONON High Bridge. This is going to be where you've got Betsy Blair is going to be coming down this trail and seeing Bridge Guy. As well as that, we know Abby and Libby go down and use this path to see. This is a closer image. This just shows where I did the video is in the red dot. There's 300 County Road 300 North. There's that just gravel area there that they were dropped off at to go. And then this is the Mears Farm to the north part of it, upper part. I wanted to show now these are obviously not my photos because I didn't get in a helicopter and take any pictures.
Didn't have a drone.
No, I didn't grab a drone and take it with me or anything like that, or get in a balloon, but this is just an image that's from a video. I'm going to share the link of the gentleman who created this, but it really shows, because I don't, if you don't see it or don't know it or know how high these bridges are in Indiana, because we have a bunch of these old bridges and stuff all over the place, more less and less as time goes on. But with the trees and stuff, it lets you see the bridge. And I want to emphasize for anybody, if you've not been out here, if you haven't seen it, just to get a perspective of how large this bridge is, how tall this bridge is, and that the trees are only exposing a small portion of the length of this bridge. It is so much longer than that. And a lot of people do not realize that. And this was the most emotional time I had going. So this is an older picture that was from this video that was in the bridge, because what I'm going to show you is what it looks like now while I was there. But I wanted to give it from the perspective of this. So you can see to your left, and I don't know if you could tell, those are people. Those are actually people. So there tells you the perspective of how big this bridge is. Those are people standing there to the left of the bridge. But the one reason I wanted to take a photo of this image is because look at the first platform. This is where Betsy Blair, walking from the trail, coming from the trail that we just looked at, comes here. She's going to go to the bridge and says that Richard Allen, his back is to her at the time. She gets there, says he turns around, looks at her, and then basically turns back around. She said like
though he was expecting someone that wasn't her.
Right, that was not who she expected to see. And I know that, a lot of people, like, oh my God, when you do, I mean, first of all, I guess when we're kids, we do a lot of wild stuff that we wouldn't do as adults, and we don't think it's dangerous. I mean, as a kid, I remember going and walking and climbing on all kinds of crap, right? I mean, I used to like to try to climb up in trees, and, I remember walking around near railroad tracks and stuff like that. Old railroad tracks, current railroad tracks. I mean, I would do anything, stuff like that. So, it's not that big of a deal. And you got to understand, in this small community, it was kind of like a rite of passage to go do this, go hang out. And would you cross this? Now, as you're older and, I don't know, I think I got more scared of heights as an adult and stuff and like kind of get ever felt like a motion sickness. Not till I was an adult. I used to ride roller coasters like crazy,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. And then now that I'm up, is it because we know we could fall and break bones or something now? I mean, I don't know what it is, but as kids, we're much braver to do certain things.
Yeah. Like there's a lot of things that I'm not afraid of anymore that I was when I was a kid, but I was still kind of afraid of heights when I was a kid, and I don't know if I'm afraid of them now, but I can't see myself going on a roller coaster anytime soon. Put it that
Yeah.
way.
And I feel like I'm more like maybe more afraid of heights, more so because I mean normally you don't climb anything, like when you show other people climb something and they're like, they can easily just step on it and be like, oh my God,
Yeah,
right?
like they're a monkey or something, and they're like climbing up, and you're like, oh, like even up a tree, and I'm just stood there looking at it, like, how do you even begin?
But I wanted to show this because I think this is an interesting picture. I hope it helps you guys. I hope this does help you guys. And, you know,
Well, yeah,
if not,
it
I'm sorry.
shows
I think
the
it helps
distance.
visually for you to show and to get a perspective. Again, we're looking at how narrow the trails are, where the girls would have walked next to basically Richard Allen, saying hello to him. He doesn't acknowledge them. He doesn't say anything. You're so close to that person. Every person I saw on the trail, which wasn't tons, which was not tons at all by any means, but the few people I did, everybody was like, hello, hello. I mean, we call it Hoosier hospitality, okay, in Indiana. And when somebody says hello, you say hello. And so it would be awkward that when you passed them, you would recognize that here's this guy you just passed. And then also this view, I think, is helpful because you realize that Betsy Blair is not that far away from him when he's standing on that first platform.
Right.
So I mean, to notice, oh, he turns around, looks like he's like, oh, well, and does whatever, and just turns back around.
Hmm.
So that's interesting to me. So, because, okay, so I'm sorry, I'm going to do some speculation and stuff in there, unplanned commentary, right? Um, and maybe you guys are all used to my commentary, so it won't be so shocking to you. But here's the thing. There's comments that he says in some confessions that I think are odd, and I guess I'll point those out when we get to them. But so he passed the teenage girls, and originally you're like, okay, he already passed 3 teenage girls. Why did he not hold them at gunpoint? Why did he not take them? Right? He's, closer to his car. He could have taken off with him, whatever. Or taken just whatever. Then he sees a Betsy Blair, who's a woman completely by herself. He's on that first thing right there, right? She's right there on the end. He could have said, hey, to her and started walking back towards the end of the bridge,
With
because
his
look how
gun.
close he is. Look how close that is compared to he waited later on to catch up with Abby and Libby. Why did he not get that lady? No,
Hmm.
no, no, no bad things to Betsy
Maybe,
Blair. Why did he not
maybe,
hold the gun to her?
maybe because his MO is children. However, again, he passed children before he saw Betsy Blair.
Yeah. So I thought this would be helpful because, again, here's where that platform is. And now I will tell you this, I would not stand on that goddamn platform. I mean, there's no way. I mean, no, 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 no. Um, so this is now what that area of The bridge itself looks like it is a, completely covered area that goes out. It is railed. There is actually, and I don't know if you can tell by this photo, there's like a little kind of, I don't know what I'd call it, like a little, what would you call that?
Indent?
Yeah, well, yeah, it kind of extends out just a little bit, hardly any. Kind of like a little patio thingy, you know what I mean? Like it just kind of,
like a step, just like
yeah,
one step.
kind of comes out just a tad, and you can stand there and look out. I don't know why it's there. I'm not sure. But so this is now where it goes. I wanted to look down so I could see if I could see fish. That I, wanted to capture all this for you. And this is looking down over the left side of the bridge. So, you're going into here and you can tell again. Now, I will say this, we have also had a drought again of some water. So this isn't flowing very much at all. But from the other photos, this part isn't overly thick or deep, period. This is over towards the end of the bridge to the right side, just to shows you how thick that is. The one thing I did notice is as you go further, even for some of the trees that some of the leaves have started falling down, because there's so many trees, even if the trees don't have leaves, there's where they bunch up so much you can't see clearly through, right? It's a little bit harder. So, here is the end of the bridge for where they stopped. That was so emotional. There's flowers put out in the colors of Abby and Libby's. And it's, it was just emotional. And when you kind of look out from that to see this piece of the, the continuation of the bridge going all the way across, it's almost eerie. It really is. And it's so quiet. I mean, you can hear birds and stuff like that, but it's so quiet.
Yeah.
So where the red dot is basically it's not exact. So anybody who's an expert in coordinations and Googling, they can go make it and do it themselves. But this is approximation of just saying this little bit of the bridge that's on there, because look where it is. It's at the tree line here. And then you can't see anything. And look how much further it goes down. The bridge continues down. And then that's when we're going to see that this is that drive. You see where I have Brad Holder's home. I did a video before he testified about the van. But this shows that his property, and I'll show you because I end up driving on this other side. I get on the other side of 300 and show you all of that as well. I go to the cemetery and show you all that as well. So we're going to go into that. So you've got, here's the cemetery. This is Ron Logan's house is back here, behind these woods. That's where it is. But this is his property and his property line. And then you've got the girls' bodies that were found here. But this is the drive that that Brad Weber had to take that goes underneath the Monon High Bridge in order to get to his home. Yeah. We also know that he also had went out and was asked if his property could be checked, and he was trying to help find the girls that day. So now basically what I do from here is I go ahead and I start to head back out. I didn't do all the photos back in there. I've got tons more. If you ever guys want to see personal, beautiful photos of it, I'll do maybe a video or something one day, but I'm sure you didn't want to see all of them. So basically, I head back out from the MONON High Bridge. I go back all of this trail, back across the Freedom Bridge, right, across the highway. I go back to the parking lot. I'm going to tell you, this parking lot thing, I think, is eye-opening for people to see, for you to see how close this is. So right here, again, this, I just kind of close in because when I show you the photos, I just want you to see where it's coming from. So you've got the bridge. This is the parking area right here in yellow. And so it's that gravel road. I'm going to come out that gravel road and come back out on 25. Remember that witness who said he saw a PT Cruiser over here at the CPS building and thought about what other vehicles? Well, hell yeah, you can see everything across there. But I'm going to show you when he's on 25 how easy this is to come out, because this next photo I'm going to show you, if you see the red dot here, this is where the photo I'm taking is from. So I already came out the MONON High Bridge Trail parking lot, all gravel, hardly big. I'm driving up here, driving north on from 25 to go on 300, and I'm going underneath these two, the highway. So this is literally going, and I did it from the perspective also, some of the images of sitting in the car, because I wanted to see what the witnesses could see or couldn't see while in there. So I'm going underneath. I go under both of these. So there's a separation between the two. So you go under one and you go under another. Well, right when you come out that other side, you get a stop sign. It's immediately right there. Turn right and voila, there you are. You're on County Road 300 North, and you're heading back down this. The CPS building, if it was still there, would be right here on the right-hand side as I'm approaching. So the photo I just showed you, this is the dot of me in red of where I'm located at. The CPS building would be just up here, farther up. And you can see this building. And it is not as long or far or whatever that you would think it would be. I mean, it was as simple as came out, got here, 25 there. And I'm going to tell you, everything is just so right there that when you're there, it is very easy. You could see that there's a car just parked something weird because it's so open. Everything is so open right there. So if you saw a car and it would be backed into a building right there as close as you are, and you'll be able to see, I'm fixing to show you the road. It is so narrow, because this country road is going to get much, even more narrow than even it appears here. So here we go. You can see to the back. I think you can see it, that you see the little top of the Freedom Bridge over on the right-hand side. So we're on this side of it. I'm approaching where the houses would be. I'm approaching where Richard Allen would have went in to hit that trail after parking at the CPS building. So that curve you saw, I took that curve. Now I'm on the street. From the far distance left, you see the Hoosier Harvestore building. To the right, you see the couple of little houses that are right there that we were behind while on the trail. So the trail is right behind these houses that I showed you the video of. And this is that cute house. It's adorable.
Yeah, beautiful.
So again, here's a photo just of driving this. And I look at this road. So if another car's coming, this is one little road, right? One little county road. You have to move over to the right for a vehicle to go past you. Again, here's me getting closer to the Hoosier Harvestore building. Now remember, they also talked about vehicles that were picked up at the Hoosier Harvestore video or not picked up from the Hoosier Harvestore video. So you have to go that far in order to get picked up on the video. Richard Allen claimed, so he's coming from Peru, and that's why he said he was coming from that other direction. He's not coming the direction that I am driving in towards. Now I'm going to be heading towards the cemetery, but I'm getting close here to the Hoosier Harvestore. But I want you to look at this road. So this is where Sarah Carbau, I think we said we pronounce it, it sees on the north side. So basically on her left,
yeah,
is where she would see a man, muddy and bloody, approaching her. Look how narrow that road is.
yeah. And look how open, well lit in the middle of the day. JSD was there around the time of day
Right.
that it was also. So, you know, there's no trees, there's nothing kind of blocking your vision or shadowing anything. It's open, it's very well lit. And he would have been very close to that left-hand side of her car as she drove past him.
Absolutely. And the road is so narrow. You've got to watch that curve. When you take that curve, like if you've never driven it, trust me, you can be like, whoa, that, you curved, and then how you're straight, you have this little bitty road and stuff in there, and you've got to go way over to the right if another car is going to approach you. So, when another car is not approaching you, you're kind of a little bit more in the middle. I didn't do anything against the law. There's no line in the middle. But you kind of take a little bit more road than you would for you're not over to the side. But when you do that, if a man is approaching you, and what does she say about Richard Allen? Well, we learn more specifically that he's muddy all over, except that the bottom of his pants and stuff have blood on it. And the comment was said,
he had his hands in his pockets and his head down.
Yep. And looks like he slaughtered a pig.
Yes.
So as you look at the red dot, this is me approaching. That's the Hoosier Harvestore. So, and you saw how open that was open just to get to the Hoosier Harvestore. It's not far. Please don't let it, just the way the map looks for me taking the image, it is not far at all. I'm talking seconds to drive from here to there. And now I'm heading towards the Mears farm, right? Past, and which, by the way, this entrance and stuff like that, lots of this stuff now is blocked up, locked up, gated up, all kinds of stuff. But now I'm heading and going specifically to the cemetery. Now, the cemetery, I really discovered a lot more at the cemetery that I didn't realize. So on 300 approaching, so over here to the far right in the trees is where Ron Logan's house is, right? So, but in the cemetery, you only have this, driving around ring, right? You've got the tire marks that goes, you can go around it and you can cut through the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And I put a red dot to show you where I'm going to end up in
the
here.
picture she showed. Mm-hmm.
So now when this happens, and I'm going to go back, this is turning right. This very first, I'm right here first.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to go inside, but well, the other videos and stuff, everything I show is going to be down here. So I just take we take this right and going down in here. So you see the cemetery. The cemetery is pretty good size. It also goes farther back than kind of that you really realize. So let me ask you this. Do you guys see anyone in there in the cemetery? Do you see a car?
She asked me this earlier, and don't know about you guys, but I can't see anyone. Not in this picture. Doesn't stand out.
So let me tell you something freaking scary weird. So pulled in, and you see how that's just the two tires to go around. So I'm thinking, okay, we're going to go all the way back into the cemetery itself. Because one thing I was looking for, and one of the descriptions from one of the officers talked about a so-called ridge. This was all for Paige. That's why I was looking for this ridge.
I was like, you need to find this ridge. What is he talking about?
And so, so it's like, okay, so pull in here. Well, let me tell you this. There are people in the back of that cemetery, and there's a car back there, and you can't see it. It kind of freaked me out. So here's the first part. Now, when you get up here a little bit, I'm looking to the far right. You can see that that's the middle part that I showed you. You can turn in. Let me go back. This middle part, I'm getting closer to, because when I sit here and go back, these people were back in this corner, and they kind of went off this little drive thing here and kind of pulled over to the side on the grass a little bit into the trees. There's not much to go, because there is a ridge there.
They're not visible for most of the journey into the cemetery.
No, I didn't see the people, and did not see that there was even cars back there. Had no clue anybody was back there. Now, this is, I crossed in the middle to go to the other side. And then this is a picture kind of looking back. I'm kind of angled, but you can see 300 North is over to the right. And then, so I'm looking angled towards this. And then this is straight out looking at 300 North. So look how open that field is. Look at, there's, even gravestones and stuff to the left of it as well. But I'm going to show you. I hope it goes okay. I'm going to show you this video that I took. And the one thing I want to point out to you, obviously one thing that to point out is that if I'm pulling into the graveyard and I can't see that there's a car parked down in the far corner to the left, pull off to the side, or that there's two people down there, there is no way in hell you could tell if there was a car parked there if you were passing on 300 North to notice if there was a vehicle parked at the cemetery. I'm just saying. This video shows you a little why. Look how I'm dipped down.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at 300 North, and you can see that as you get farther back in the graveyard, it's slanting down. So if you're on 300 North, you can't see that. And even when I first pulled in, it was startling, because like, holy crap, there's two other people here. There's some more cars here, or cars parked in the back corner.
Yeah.
So let me show you this video really quick. also parked on the back part of the cemetery near Ron Logan's house. While pulling in to the cemetery, we saw some people walking around, which at the time were like, well, where did they come from? Well, they were parked way back here on the back part. So this is the farthest back point of the back corner. So this would be on the southeast side of the cemetery. So I'm over towards, I'm on the west side of it. This is the east side. So the ridge that I was looking for Paige and myself, honestly, to find out where did this police officer say he went, and he said he went to the graveyard and he looked at over the ridge.
Yeah.
So this area
is
basically the ridge. And there's a fence and stuff here. There's like fencing and stuff right here.
Yeah.
And this does not smoothly go across at all. After this fencing and stuff in here, there's like a drop. It like just slants, drops.
It's an incline, yeah.
So that would be the ridge that the officer was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But from where I was at the front and I took that photo and I asked you guys, can you see a car? Can you see people? That's because I'm in the first part of this, and you see it's not huge. It's just right off of there. Well, they're parked back here. They were parked back in this corner. And it's not like there's a giant spot here. All they did was slightly move off of this little trail that goes completely around the cemetery, and they just kind of pulled off to the side a little bit. And they weren't even enough that they decided to go ahead and move, because when I crossed over to that other side, they went ahead and they had got in their vehicle and went ahead and pulled off to leave. Well, and that's how I was able to get around, because you couldn't get around them if they didn't. So let me finish this video. I hope everybody can hear it okay too. I did.
Yeah, sounds fine.
Of the cemetery, because it goes all the way around. So that direction I'm facing now is off of 300. But look at that slant. You can't even see the front, the front part of the cemetery. But they had vehicles parked all the way back here in that very far corner, which if you're coming off of 300, you would not see a car parked back here at the cemetery.
I wanted to make another comment about the cemetery, if that's okay.
Sure.
But you guys see now how the bridge looks. You can no longer cross it. It's got the kind of barriers and everything to make it more safe. And you can't fully cross it to go the route that Abby and Libby would have took. But there is an actual direct route from the wooded area where the bridge starts. So on the left of the bridge is a wooded area, and there's actually kind of a path that takes you down to the graveyard,
right,
without having to cross the bridge at all. So I just thought that would be interesting to pop in here now as well.
And these photos that I'm showing you right now were of the day of the search, when they located Abby and Libby's bodies. And they this is where they were all parked to be able to get close to the girls. A bunch of vehicles and stuff were parked here. Here's another image of that. And again, where I'm taking that photo that looks like the graveyard ends, I'm right back here in this corner on the right. And then I'm showing you the picture of back here in this corner. Again, this is the ridge.
Yes.
This is the ridge the officer looked at, and he didn't see anything. Well, there's no way in heck he would. This is all slanted down. There is no like flat ground right here. It is all totally like cliff-like drop off. And again, this is all fenced now. This had all, like little fencing, not big fencing. But when I'm showing you that, I'm showing you that back corner, and I was showing you looking forward. Well, you couldn't even see the front part of this graveyard here. It looked like it ended here at this midpoint because of how slanted down this is. So that car, again, like I said, the car was parked back here, people walking here. I pull in off of 300, couldn't see them, didn't know it until we're getting farther back. It's like crap. So that's why I had to cross over the middle here and to start to go back, because otherwise I couldn't stay this direction because the car would have been coming towards me. So I had to take the left here and then head back on that side to go around. So I want to show you from this perspective as well. So this is on the back side, the other side. The video, or I'm sorry, the image that I showed you with that first platform, there's right there. This is what we were looking at, and it got cut off that you can't see anymore because of trees and stuff like that, right? Of what I took a picture of. This is back when the girls were searched for and found. So you can see a little bit less leaves and stuff in here, right? So the cemetery is in the bottom right-hand corner. I just want to try to give you your bearings. Yeah. So we're looking in the air above where 300 North is, where the cemetery is, and we're looking at the bridge. So look how we only saw that small image of only the bridge crossing Deer Creek. Now you can see how far that bridge keeps going. And I'm going to show you the other side of this, but that bridge goes way farther than you can imagine. It's got trees and stuff that sits here and cover it. And you're talking, and look how far a distance that is. So when I'm when I'm showing you where I'm standing, where that, it ends and cuts off now, I'm hardly in it yet. But look how much farther it goes. The left shows down the hill.
Yeah, I was just going to point that out. You can clearly see down the hill, you can see the private drive, but you also then notice that there's also another incline, so another little hill going down from that private drive to where the creek is. So that's where the girls would have been led, down there.
Yep. So this kind of shows you when they talk about, and I hope you guys can see it well. I mean, I'm sure your eyesight's better than mine is, but if you can see from this view, this vantage point, this would be where David Weber was coming on this drive, right here. Can you guys see that? That white underneath here. And it's go underneath the Monon High Bridge, just in that far corner of that private drive. That's why, people sit here and, it just goes right into the private drive. So that's why the official trail itself doesn't continue, because that's private property. But when the girls are doing their video, they're, we now know that in the recording that Libby has on her phone, Abby, who it's horrible to hear that she did sound scared, and that she was asking about, is he still behind us? And that, Libby's trying to, probably calm or whatever, and said, this is that basically like, this is the only, I'm trying to think of the exact words, but that we can only go here. The trail ends. The trail here. And then they hear where Abby says a gun, and that it is heard that a gun is cocked. Now, I'm going to bring up this because, and I don't even know which videos we talked about this, but the theory that I had a long time ago that I know we bounced around and talked about is, how would the bullet unspent end up on the ground? Well, here was the theory we had, which seems to be correct. So you've got the gun that's already cocked, and because he's trying to get the girl, go down the hill, cocks the gun.
Right.
So now he gets them down this hill. Now remember, we wanted to bring up about the timing of this, which is weird for me, but so we know that the photos and stuff is last taken at
Which one?
Well, the first download was at 2:13, right?
Oh yeah. So the sorry, excuse me. The bridge guy video started at 2:13. Yes,
right.
you're correct.
And so she's sitting here, she's got all this recorded. And then when they go down the hill though, and he tells them to go down the hill, that audio lasts about 45 seconds. So they get down there. So now we learn that during one of the confessions that even the law enforcement didn't even know this.
Yeah.
But the confession to Dr. Walla was he planned to take the girls down there. He was going to rape them. Then he says, but a white van spooked him. So here's where the van would have come in.
Yeah.
So we got the girls to cross the creek. And
yeah.
Then that's it's supposed to be Weber came home around 2:30 from work. And Libby's phone stopped moving at 2:32 p.m.
Yeah.
At the crime scene and never moved again.
Another interesting thing as well to note is when he, in the confession, he did say, he's interrupted by this van, and that's what made law enforcement interested to look into that and realize it's something the killer would know. But McClelland also stated something very interesting, that Libby's phone data also shows that after that incline, so when they went down the hill, her phone stopped moving for 7 minutes before it started again, which is why he believes Richard Allen started to try and have his way with the girls. So that also kind of matches with him wanting to do something at that point and then being interrupted,
Yeah. And I mean, here's the thing. The thing is that, first of all, I don't even believe Richard Allen's telling of some of it to say, well, then that's why he took the girls across the creek, and that's when he decided he had to murder them.
Yeah.
Well, okay, I'm going to call bullshit.
Yeah.
You brought a gun. You brought a knife. You take them, so a van comes. All you've done right now is kidnap them. I have a possible theory that maybe something was already fixing to happen, or he was doing something because he was already down the hill for those many minutes, and it changed. Oh shit, I'm trying to think of the right word. It changed height. I'm not getting the right word for.
Yeah, elevation.
Thank you very much. It changed the elevation of where they were, which makes sense because this thing, it's so choppy and all this kind of stuff. So he's got them down there. What was he doing with them already? So he gets spooked. He's going across. When were they undressed? Right? When did they start getting undressed? When was he what was he doing already? He goes across the water. He's in the creek. So he's like, oh, I had to kill him. Because of that. Well, he didn't get seen until 3:45. walking down, 3:45ish, walking down the damn road that I showed you where Muddy and Bloody saw him.
Yeah.
Walking towards the CPS building. So that means he spent over an hour with their bodies.
Yeah. And it's interesting again because, he had both of them alone at the bottom of that hill on that private drive with his gun. Did he have one of the girls in one hand and was kind of pointing the gun and making the other girl comply? Kind of situation, like what was it? Was he getting, I hate to say these words, but was he trying to get the sexual gratification in ways that maybe he didn't need to undress anybody at this point? But yeah, I totally agree with you. Like, I don't believe that whatever he planned to happen was supposed to happen on that private drive at the bottom of the hill. People wonder why he crossed the creek at all, and they're saying now it's because he was interrupted. But
Mr. Beer has a question. Okay. He wanted clarification about the 7 minutes.
Yes, so that was in, I believe, Nicholas McClelland's, is it called a rebuttal? I'm so sorry, I pronounced things wrong.
No, that's right. Yeah.
Statement yesterday for the closing arguments. He mentioned apparently that there was a period of 7 minutes. It shows, after the video ends, it shows that steep incline, the elevation that JSD was just describing. The phone data shows that, so it does show that they go down the hill. And then he mentions there's a period of time, 7 minutes, where that phone also stops, and that timing coincides with when, that man is saying he's driving his van home.
So the movement from where he first stopped them to then the second location, now they find the final movement was at 2:32 where they were at the crime scene. Right. This railing and stuff right here, this is a path that's closed off. I'm sure you guys have probably seen this before, maybe. But this is the pathway near Ron Logan's house that you can take and come out this pathway and come out to the near the graveyard. And that's a distance from, when after the cemetery, you've got Ron Logan's house isn't super close by. But again, you've got this, here we are again, that drive that we just showed you here. Let me go backwards. This right here.
The private drive.
That private drive. There's the end of this. Here's the cemetery, right? Let me go backwards. So here's that. This is the drive. It's like a, little road, little country road that ends up on the private drive for Brad Weber. It goes underneath the very end of that Monon High Bridge. Back here is the back of Ron Logan's property.
Yeah.
And this would be where he gets spooked. He makes the girls cross the water, and then they end up here. But the phone stops moving at 2:32. He's not seen till 3:45.
What?
He was an hour with the girls.
Yeah. The phone stopped at 2:32, but is that because it was in a pocket of her hoodie jeans that was taken off and laid on the ground? Like, just because the phone stopped, that's not when they were killed, like.
Now, here's another image. This image is taken from the day of the search and when they ended up finding the bodies of the girls. This is helicopter footage. And I thought I would take a picture from this because, again, it shows you And if you haven't watched this all the way through, I encourage you to watch to see how far this bridge goes, because in other videos you can't see that it goes way how far back. It's all, they always only show it across Deer Creek. But if you look at this, can you guys see where the arrow is, how far that bridge is still going? And then you can see the road goes underneath it.
And I think that's why people get confused when, you know, with how the scene looks, if you haven't really seen it. Because, like you just said, the images of the bridge that everyone sees is usually the beginning and you see Deer Creek underneath. And people are thinking, well, where is this private drive? You can't see it. Well, that's because it's literally right at the end of where that bridge stops underneath. And you can see that then from when you go down the hill. I've seen the images and stuff people have taken from going there. It does clearly show you the end of the bridge and then where that private drive is.
So I want to point out that this is actually what the trees and everything look like when they were found. This is actually how much foliage was left on the trees. This is when they're found. This video I was watching live when they were searching for them that next day. And this is the footage that actually the original footage of this Channel 6 showed them discover where the bodies are. And they, if you watched it live, you saw it, where they were seeing where all the police and stuff were gathered. And they had to clip out of that video. The last video we did, I think I showed it. Didn't I have it in the background the whole time?
You explained a couple of times, I think you've shown it actually. But yeah, you explained that when you did view it, it obviously kind of quickly pans away from that. And then in the footage that everyone else saw later on and what we now see, that's completely cut away. So you don't even see that. Is that right?
They've got two parts because there was a police helicopter that could fly lower. And then the Channel 6 helicopter was flying above it.
That's right, yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you could see that all of a sudden the helicopter took off one thing, and you could see a police car in the video is driving through the private drive.
Like really quickly.
Like get over there.
On that road, right, yeah.
So again, here's Brad Weber. Now I will tell you this. It did go out on this, and on 300 North, in order to get over here, you had to go all the way around, get all the way back. And I had to take, get on the back side of 625, right? And 625, and then it crossed over here on 252. Well, to take that, and to go back, basically, I ended up in a dead end. It dead ends that you're facing Brad Weber's property. You're right there, basically, at Brad Weber's old house.
There's also more than just his property, like surrounding, isn't there? There is like, I think, is it 3 in total or something? And then Ron Logan's then.
Of the house, I'm sorry.
Yeah, along the private drive, like there are some other homes, not just Brad Weber.
Well, yeah, I mean, back in here, there were other houses, obviously, here that we passed
not
by.
On the direct route,
right?
And his is right at the end, right? Got it.
So, I'm going to show you some of this video. It'll help give a little bit more perspective of it. I'll have the link in the description for to show the creator and stuff of this, the MONON High Bridge Trail. And then I'm going to show you all of the stuff of the only evidence that the state has. And we're going to talk about that. But let me show you a piece of this here real quick. I'm just pausing it here. So these are just two people walking next to each other. If you watch the beginning of the video, you could see how small the trail was for room. And I want you to look at these two people who are walking on the trail and how little room there is if you were walking by them coming from the other direction. And how easy you're going to see that person. And that's the overlook before you go closer towards the Freedom High Bridge that I told you. This is looking down again, that I showed you pictures of what that looks like and whether you can see fish or not. Look, there's a little fish. I think that is a fish, right?
Could be a lot.
And we're going to go through each one of the things of the evidence, the witnesses, and what they have. And you saw how long the bridge was. They only stop always at the other point of just that other end of Deer Creek. And you saw way farther out that goes.
And so far, you can't even see the end until you almost are approaching it.
Yeah, so you got to realize how far he had to go walk behind those girls to get to them. So when I showed you the other side view, and you could see how much farther that is.
Mm-hmm. And in, because every day has been a blur, but the testimony also was that Bridge Guy, was walking about 10 to 12 railroad ties behind Abby at the time the video was being taken by Libby. So that's the distance he was away from her.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
And warning, because this made me cry. So. Jersey's fault.
Now, this is where I took that picture for you guys to view, where it showed that first platform where Betsy Blair sees Bridge Guy standing, and it's so close there.
Yeah.
And how easy it would be for her to see where he turned around, looked at her.
Yeah.
And then turned back around, again looking at his phone, which we should, let's go ahead and put that out there. The phone he got rid of. So this is there's that first platform. You see people standing to the left. That's where Betsy Blair saw Richard Allen. You know, when you go out there now and you see that this is where these little girls went out to have fun, it's heartbreaking. So we're going to go through, what evidence does the state have? I need you to clear your mind with what you know about Delphi. Way longer than this, Bridges. Now I have a test for all of you that's going to happen in a minute. And we'll see how many of you pass it. And it's a good test. The link, I'll put the link in there for you guys to get and see. Ooh. Okay. On the trail video, how many people were standing near the railing?
Sorry, you got it again with that video.
And now I hurt myself when I clipped, so I screwed that up. But if you sat here and you watched that video and you saw that, now I want you to tell me, what were they wearing? The reason I pointed that out is because there's an argument about stuff for witnesses. And this was on the overlook part. Now, if I show you this photo and I say, here's a photo, does this look like the 3 people you saw? Then you would be able to tell me, yep, that's the 3 people that were there. Or if I said there's a woman who was there, you thought you saw a woman there, but you know, oh, I think she was wearing dark clothes, maybe it's something this, maybe this. And then yet I bring you a picture and I say, does this look like the woman you saw looking there? There you go. So it would have been more clever if I didn't click through the damn thing, but after I saw it. But so let's clear our mind. I need you to clear your minds. Everybody clear their minds of what you think you know about Richard Allen in the case. So remember, the jury right now is still deliberating. We got 2 counts are with felony murder, which is causing somebody's death in the commission of a crime. And they're basically saying that it was during kidnapping and it caused the death. So that is felony murder. You committed a felony and they ended up dead. The other 2 counts are charged with Allen with just straight out killing the girls, just murdering the girls.
Yeah.
So let's go through this. Paige, you want to read through this?
Yeah, of course.
Highlights of the timeline.
This is the timeline given by the state in their closing argument yesterday. So first of all, Nicola McClelland stated that at 12:25 p.m. is when Wilbur arrives at Freedom Bridge and walks towards the High Bridge. So Wilbur is one of the girls. We'll go into that now. 12:43 p.m. Wilbur takes a time-stamped photo of High Bridge. So she walks from Freedom Bridge towards High Bridge. She takes a picture of it when she gets there. 1:26 p.m. Wilbur takes another picture at a bench on the trail. And a short time later, she and 3 friends pass a man on the trail who they describe as creepy. 1:46 p.m. is when Betsy Blair arrives at the Mears trailhead. So that's where Libby and Abby were dropped off as well. 2 p.m. Betsy Blair reaches the High Bridge and sees a man on the first platform, which is, the footage that the JSD just showed you of how close that would have been, and how clearly she would have seen the man stood on that first platform. He looks like he is expecting someone that is not her, she testified. She turns around and walks towards the Freedom Bridge, so back where she came. Between High Bridge and that Mears entrance, she passes Abby and Libby walking towards High Bridge. And again, in the video that JSD just showed, how narrow that pathway is, she would have really clearly seen Abby and Libby as she walked past them on that trail. 2:13 p.m. is when Libby begins recording a video showing Bridge Guy walking behind Abby on the bridge. 2:32 p.m. Libby's phone stops moving, and at 3:56 p.m. is when Sarah Carber passes a man on County Road 300 North, and he appears to be muddy and bloody, like he had just slaughtered a pig. And that's from the state.
So we thought we'd go through the different pieces that we have that they have evidence. So I want you to clear. Don't think about anything else that you know about, that you don't know anything about Delphi. You are a juror. You've just been brought up. You've never heard anything about this case. You don't know about all this other stuff that's gone on. You don't know about all the other millions of theories and everything in the world that's happened out there, came up, didn't happen, what was true, whatnot. So let's just focus on what the state is telling us. So we know Richard Allen has no alibi for that day, and he admits to being on the trail on February 13th, 2017. Paige, you want to take the next one?
Yeah. So we know that Richard Allen's 2016 Ford Focus SE is seen on the video of the Hoosier Harvestore. It's also the only one that's registered in Carroll County in 2016 and 2017.
So I'll take the next. Richard Allen is seen by, and he admits seeing teenage girls. Now, I put 3 just because technically there's 4. He admits, the reason I put 3 is because he confirms that he sees 3 girls.
Mm-hmm.
And that they confirm, those are the ones who confirm that bridge guy video matches the man that they saw and passed on the trail.
Yep.
That.
Betsy Blair, eyewitness, she sees Richard Allen on the first platform of the MONON High Bridge, only 50 feet away from her.
And then we've got Betsy Blair, while walking back on the trail, passes Abby and Libby heading towards the bridge. That's only important because the only adult, the only person Betsy Blair sees that's over there while Abby and Libby are walking that way is Bridge Guy.
Right. And then Libby's phone records Bridge Guy video and audio of a man who kidnapped and made the girls go down the hill. Abby is heard saying gun, and a gun is heard being cocked. Richard Allen's confession to Dr. Waller provides unknown info that he was spooked by a white van, which was Brad Weber's van, and he was coming home from work at 2:30 p.m.
And that's important because here's the thing. Richard Allen gave that info to the law enforcement. They didn't know about that. He sat there and made the statement about the van. They went to go check it out. They testify that they did not learn about that until August.
Yeah, and McClelland even said yesterday, they didn't have any of this yet. They didn't have the confessions yet. They had all they needed, and he just gave this up for them.
Right. So then we've got
Libby's phone.
Where am I at? 8. Libby's phone stops moving at 2:32 p.m. and at the crime scene and doesn't move again. Now, I do want to add, because I don't know if I put this in here. The other thing that was also noted is, and Paige and I were talking about this. I'm going to throw this out there right now since we're bringing up the phone. That the phone, they have all these photos of the crime scene and stuff like that they show. The phone itself, as we learn, that is corrected from the probable cause affidavit, that it was under Abby. Libby's phone was under Abby, and it was near a shoe. But they say that the phone was covered in leaves and and was wet, had water on it.
And again, another thing I remember from McClelland yesterday is he stated that shoe, Libby's other shoe, was underneath Abby, and underneath that shoe was the phone. And he also believes that, Libby and Abby did everything they could to actually conceal that phone.
Right. And we need to clarify too, by the way, because of this. So, in the testimony of Becky Patty, the grandma of Libby, she testified at the very beginning saying that in her recollection, when Libby was leaving, Libby was wearing the tie-dye shirt and sweatpants.
Right.
I did a video called Liar, Liar that was showing that was what was reported to the police, and that was what was being shared publicly. and even the next day still of what she was wearing. Well, that's because that's what she was wearing when her grandmother saw her. But apparently, at some point,
She must have
Libby
changed.
changed into a pair of jeans. What
Right.
we
And
want
why?
to clarify is Abby was wearing a pair of jeans, but she was not wearing the pair of jeans Libby
Was
wore
wearing that day.
that she wore that day. She
Yes.
was
And
wearing a pair of borrowed jeans that she had on when they found her.
so why do we think this? Importantly, so it came out in the beginning of this trial. Again, I can't remember which day because it's all a blur now. That the size of the jeans, that were found in the creek would have, matched what Libby would have been wearing, right? So that then led us to think, well, how was Abby redressed in Libby's jeans if these jeans found in the creek would have been too large for Abby? So would the ones on her would have fitted? Because when she's pictured on the bridge, her jeans are clearly fitting her. They're not too large. Um, so so yeah, that's where we came to that conclusion that they state it as she's wearing Libby's jeans, but she's
Right.
not wearing the jeans that Libby was
Because
wearing that day.
she was wearing an borrowed pair of jeans. She stayed the night at her house. They borrowed a pair of jeans. Here's why we know. The pair of jeans that were floating in the water was a size 26, I think, girls
Yeah,
plus, either 26 or 28. A
yeah,
girl's 26 plus or 28 is not going to fit Abby. They would fall off of Abby.
right.
So that she's not wearing the pair of jeans she was wearing there. So Abby has a pair of jeans on that she borrowed, and Libby is not wearing jeans. She was found nude because her jeans were floating in the water.
Right.
Size 26 or 28 plus. I apologize for that. I don't have that written down
Along,
in front of me.
along with a tie-dye shirt and one of her shoes
Right,
and underwear
right.
and a sock.
And we know that they know that they the killer took things and they talked about what was taken.
And
However,
it has still not
guess
been
what?
found.
It's been 7 years.
Yeah,
So that's the
yeah,
same thing you can argue with the phone. They found all those phones and devices and even pagers back in the day, but tons of phones.
yeah.
And
I
yet
have.
he got rid of the phone that he gave to Dan Dolan. Dan Dolan asked for the phone. He
Yeah,
opens up for Dan Dolan, can see the number of
I've
the
got
MEID,
the
doesn't have
quote.
an IMEI. Why does that matter? IMEI means it's not being worked on a GSM network. It's a burner
Hmm.
phone, and
Hmm.
it doesn't have a SIM card.
Hmm.
So you don't go trade it in to go get another phone because any any network at all that you use has to have
Yeah,
an IMEI number. They trace it, and that's how, if you don't pay your bill or if your
yeah,
phone is stolen, your
yeah.
company, whoever it is, will block the phone so nobody can use it. But
Hmm.
he got rid of that phone. That's the only thing he got rid of.
Yeah, and that's a statement that McClelland made again yesterday. Is he said, um, in his collection, Alan possessed 12 phones and two pagers, so that's everything they took from his home. Missing from the collection was the phone he used in 2017, and that's the phone of the details, like you just said, that he gave to Dan Doolin.
Yeah,
Yeah,
SP74, it could have been 26. I just don't have it sitting in front of me. I just wanted to bring up that issue because as we read
yeah,
that, it
'cause we
reminded
were
me, and
so,
sorry
yeah,
about that. I just wanted to bring that up because I know we've got a lot of questions about that. So I wanted to make sure to answer that question in particular. So, okay. Where was the next one?
do you want me to read it?
Yeah.
Um, so, oh yeah, so a topic I really wanted to get into. Richard Allen's bullet is found between the bodies of the girls. It's a Sig Sauer P226 40 caliber. that has markings that cycled through his gun, and it was found during a search warrant. So that gun was found during a search warrant, and a bullet, also a 40 caliber bullet, was found in a little keepsake box with other memorabilia, the state said, which I thought was interesting.
So the one thing I want to point out, and I was bringing this up, so when they hear about the gun being cocked back, when he tells the girls to go down the hill, and Abby responding as she basically that she's terrified, right? She's terrified and responds that way, sounds that way. So he cocks the gun back. So the theory that I had way back when, before we hear all this stuff, is, okay, so how would the bullet be there? How would have that bullet gone through and whatever? And at the time when we were all talking about this before, it would be because if you cock the gun back again, that unspent round is going to pop back out of your gun.
Right.
So if somebody's not cooperating, or the girls aren't doing something, or whatever happens, and he cocks that gun back again, that unspent round is going to pop out of the gun itself. Now, I'm not saying 100% that's what happened, but that is a possibility. And I know the people with guns is going to know that. But that's how that could have popped back out.
Yeah, and it is so much like to do with the unspent round, because we've had the defense's expert and then we've had the states, and it can be confusing. But I just wanted to note some interesting things that I've read anyway in terms of this. And McClellan did say that the defense's expert, who they called, they didn't test the bullet, and they also didn't write a report. And then he stated that their witness tested the cartridge, and they determined it had cycled through Alan's gun. This was verified 3 times by this person's boss, who is a former president of the American Association of Firearms and Toolmark Examiners. The state also said that the defense's ballistic expert has not been accredited, but the state's ballistic expert has. So obviously, again, this is the state side, but I just thought they were really interesting to take away from as well when it comes to the
CJK, I agree with you. How do you know he did? Is that Simcha? Is it Simcha? I'm sorry if I pronounce it horribly. How do you know he did? We're saying because when very early on, very, very, very early on, at the beginning days of trial, they had let family members hear that video, and that had already come out about hearing a gun cock back.
Yeah,
and people hearing the audio in court also heard a gun pop back.
There was an interview kind of thing with I think it was Abby's mum, Anna Williams. I think she was kind of just talking on her own about Abby, and I believe she mentioned it. It's quite an old video, like, I don't know, maybe 3 years, 4 years into this case, way before Richard Allen was ever discovered.
Right. Even though they did know that obviously how the girls were murdered, because also everybody at the funeral, they knew that the girls' necks were covered.
Yes, that was something early on that people said as well, that the girls had. Libby, I believe, had a neck scarf, and Abby apparently had a dress or a top or something that was very high up, onto her neck and kind of buttoned up. That's apparently what was said. I don't know if that is true, but it kind of makes more sense with how we know they were killed now, if that is true.
So we've got, again, I think, did we repeat this, or just because it was recently? Sarah the car bar driving and seeing Richard Allen walking towards the CPS building, which, remember, when he's interviewed and on the 13th, he confirms the clothes he was wearing that day, which match Bridge Guy. We know he goes to Dan Dolan, and if you weren't here earlier, please know I will be doing another Dan Dolan video. I have one about the Orion system and Dan Dolan, but there will be another. But he confirms that he's wearing the clothes. Okay, he goes very early on within the first few days, and he says he's doing a tip. Well, at the time, he did it right after the photo got released, not the video.
Right. And he was spoken to on the 18th and the photo was released on the 15th. So I think it was the 17th he called. 17th. Is that right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it was on the 17th. So then he goes, he doesn't want to meet at the police station. He doesn't want to meet at his house. So he meets him at a Save-A-Lot, which I'll show you that in a minute, where that is and how close that is to CVS.
Yes.
Says he was at his mother's and stepfather's in Peru, drank the beers, came back, got bundled up, decided to go out to the trails and lay in wait. But he confirmed he's out on the trail that day with no alibi. He confirmed what clothes he's wearing, which is the clothes the guy's in there. But so they still continued to show more video and more photos of him. And he still didn't come forward to say, well, by the way, that's me.
Yeah. And what's interesting is in his, when he talked to Dan Dolan in 2017, he changed his time even then that he was on the trail. He said like between 1 and 3, and then he said 1:30, 3:30. And then when he was spoken to in 2022, he changed that time again to 12:30 to 1:30. So it's just like, that's just crazy to me.
So what the fox, I understand that, but I do live here in Indiana, and that info that audio was played for the parents right away. We're not getting that from that. We're getting that from when it was first revealed about what was being said and heard on the video way back then. We're not talking about just in court. I'm telling, that was heard way early on, shared way early on about it. And it obviously confirmed the guy had a gun, because obviously Abby said gun and saw one. And then there happens to be a bullet that's found out there.
I'd like you to all look at the image of Bridge Guy and tell me if you see the outline of a gun. I know people see different things when they look at it, for sure. It's really hard to see anything. But I've always thought that I saw an outline of a gun in his pocket. So if that is the case, again, there's a gun.
So number 11 is a big kahuna, and that is the confessions. So again, we're just right now, we're going off of we're telling you just the state. You are a juror. You're just hearing what the state is saying. So please, make sure we're clear on that, what we're trying to do that, right? We got to be clear of not thinking what we, maybe what we thought before, of only hearing this and who these witnesses are and that we're telling you and what Richard Allen tells you. Remember, the biggest one to me is Richard Allen's statement to Dan Dolan a few days after the murder is, I saw 3 girls on the trail. The person that they were trying to find, even what's her name? I was going to say the wrong name.
Kathy Shanks.
Thank you. Kathy Shank even realized that when she read that here's this thing, which again, when I do a video, it's going to be all about who wrote clear on frickin' Richard Allen stuff. Because this murder could have been done a long time ago, guys. A frickin' long time ago. But anyway.
I digress.
But I can't wait for me to finish that video. Anyway, so 3 girls see him. He had to admit, you realize that's the only reason he went to Dan Dolan. You can't not say you were there because he knows those 3 girls saw him. And he said he saw those 3 girls. The girls, they know the time. The girls were taking photos and pictures along the trail. They know exactly what time he arrived. So when they see him at that time, he wasn't gone. He wasn't leaving. He was just getting there. And he's walking to the bridge. He admits he even went on the MONON High Bridge. He says he was standing to look at fish. He admitted that. So he had to admit that, but then he tries to change his story of the time. That's not what he told Dan Doolin about the time.
And when you think about the witnesses' times, like, we have proof of them telling the truth. We've got the footage of Betsy Blair's vehicle. We've got time-stamped images of those girls and the pictures they took. So if Richard Allen was there earlier, like he said, wouldn't that first girl have seen him when she first went to the bridge, not when she was walking back?
Mm-hmm.
You know? Makes no sense.
So these are the witnesses that came forward. We have the warden. The warden says on March 3rd or 5th of 2023 was when Allen wrote, and we only heard about a few confessions that was early on, like very beginning when they first were going to do this case. They talked about it and they're like, wow, it's heard that he confessed. And like, nobody knew how many times he had confessed at all. But this one, there was out. And he wrote the warden. And remember, his claims at the time were that he found God and he wanted to be at peace with it. So, but anyway, he writes the warden on March 5th, 2023. He wants an interview that includes him stating he wanted to confess to killing Abby and Libby. In the interview request, Allen simply states he is ready to officially confess killing Abby and Libby. He added, I hope I get the opportunity to tell the families I'm sorry. And then you want to do the next one, Paige?
Yeah, so multiple Westville correctional officers followed their former warden and repeated accounts of Allen confessing to killing the girls. Correction officer Michael Clemens told jurors he was a suicide companion assigned to record everything Allen said while in prison. According to Clemens, on April 6, 2023, Allen confessed to killing the girls. He quoted Allen as saying, "God, I'm so glad no one gave up on me after I killed Abby and Libby. I killed Abby and Libby all by myself. Nobody helped me," Allen is also accused of saying. Clemens also told jurors that Allen shouted to other inmates, "I'm not crazy, I'm only acting like I'm crazy."
I find it interesting that one of his comments says, I killed Abby and Libby all by myself. Nobody helped me. I just find that interesting that he would even make that statement. Maybe that's just me. I'm going to shout out to Cryptex. I don't know what you think about that, Cryptex, but I think it's interesting that he would even make that statement. Yeah, girl size are different than guy size, and that size is considered a plus size.
Also, Shane, yeah, in the UK, sizing is very different compared to, because I had to ask JSD because I was very confused about the size. I asked her, is this a small size or a larger size? And she explained to me the sizing, in the US.
I mean, you can tell by looking at Abby and Libby, they're different sizes, period. So they don't wear the same size of jeans. But she could have had an older pair of jeans that she let her wear.
She
just
borrowed
like
from the
she
home,
was already had borrowed. I mean, you haven't been to a slumber party to somebody's house and you weren't planning on it. You're hanging out, and then all of a sudden you go, "Hey, can I stay the night at so-and-so's house?" And like, sure. And you go and you don't have any clothes, so you borrow a pair of pajamas of theirs, and then the next day you decide to go somewhere, you don't have clean clothes to put on, so you borrow a shirt and you borrow a pair of pair of jeans or something.
How many girls have like several pairs of jeans varying in sizes because we never throw them away. Never. We always think we're gonna fit back into them, they're gonna fit us, so we keep them. It's just a thing girls do.
So correction officer Ethan Drang also took the stand and told jurors that Allen confessed to him on April 5th of 23 that he killed the girls and wanted to apologize to their families. Drang added that Allen said, "I think coming to prison cured me of my depression and anxiety." Michael Roberts, another correctional officer, said Allen confessed to him multiple times about killing the girls. On April 7th of 23, Allen allegedly confessed to molesting the girls. On April 23rd, Allen again allegedly confessed to killing the girls. The next day, Roberts said Allen asked, "How do I prove that I'm insane?" Now, I do want to point out that one of the theories also that Dr. Walla has, the clinical psychologist who was seeing at the Indiana Department of Correction, was that she would go by and she would see him acting out. And then once she passed by, or the warden would pass by, they would sit here and notice that he would stop, or the video would show he would stop. But they have a suspicion that this was an act because of the way it would start and then stop when he knows he's being watched or seen, and then he would stop doing what he's doing. And that they also think that that's part of the possibility of, if it's misinformation, that he said that he molested his daughter and his stepsister or half sister.
Yeah.
You want to get the next?
Yeah, okay. So several more Westville correctional officers testified into the evening, telling jurors that Allen confessed to killing the girls throughout April into May. They told jurors about Allen's strange behavior, including drinking hot sauce, peeing on his mat, and masturbating while singing. "Kathy, I did it. I'm guilty," Allen allegedly said on April 16th, 2023, while correctional officer Raymond Smith was watching over him. "Run, Kathy, run," he quoted.
I want ice cream too. Sorry, Shane and them are talking about ice cream now. I want ice cream, damn it. According to the correctional officer John Miller, Allen expressed his desire to burn in hell while confessing to the killings. "I got what I deserved for what I did," Allen allegedly said to Miller. "I'm sorry I killed those kids." Westville Correctional Officer Brandon Fisher detailed perhaps the most potentially damning of the alleged confessions. According to Fisher, on April 29th of 23, at approximately 6 p.m., Richard Allen not only confessed to killing the girls yet again, but provided some details into the killings. Allen reportedly said that he intended to rape the girls, but said that he panicked and ended up killing them instead. Allen told Fisher that he killed the girls with a box cutter and then threw it in the dumpster behind CVS. This echoes the testimony that he gave by Gallupu, if that's how you pronounce it. You can do this one.
Okay, cool. So Jason Bedwell, a correctional officer from Wabash Valley Correctional, was among the guards who took the stand on Tuesday evening. Bedwell was the only guard from Wabash Valley, which is where Allen was transferred after being held for 13 months at Westville Prison. Bedwell stated that on February the 4th, 2024, 9 months after the previous confessions, Allen again confessed to the killings while lying down and crying, talking to himself. "I am sorry for what I did," Allen said. According to Bedwell, he's sorry for killing them.
So obviously we have then, in addition to this, we know that he confessed to his wife and his mother. And these phone calls are listened to. Everybody knows phone calls are recorded in prison and in jail. And that Brian Harshman was the one who had to listen to all that recordings. And he listed about 700 of them. And listening to those, he listened to on November 14th of 2022, Alan tells his wife, "I'm sorry, I don't want to upset you. If it gets to be too much, if this becomes too hard for you, get the officers. Whatever they want me to say, I'll say it." Alan was crying into the phone on April 2023 when he said to his wife, "I love you." Kathy responded with, "I love you so much. I wish I could hug you. You need to hang in there." His next call to his mother came just a few hours later, and he asked, "Did Kathy tell you that I accepted the Lord?" And she talked about how wonderful that was. Well, the next day, Alan then called his wife and confessed to killing Abby and Libby. He says, "I want to apologize to you," he said. "I killed Abby and Libby." His wife denied his allegations, saying, "No, you didn't." And he replied, "Yes, I did." Alan continued several more times in the conversation, saying, "I think I did it." In a different call to his mother, he says, "I'm worried you guys are not going to love me because I told you I did it." Says, she tells him, "Don't talk like that." His mother says, he goes, "I think they're just messing with your head." "No, Mom, they're not," he replied. I just know you don't have it in you," she said. "Mom, I wouldn't sit here and tell you I did it if I didn't do it." So there's is reportedly over and over phone calls of him trying to tell them. They keep telling him to be quiet. They keep telling him not to say anything else. And he even tells Dr. Walla that she won't believe me. They won't believe me telling this. And I think when you get to trying to tell your own wife and your own mother, that's a much bigger thing than telling to a guard and whatever. And remember, there's 61 confessions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they didn't even hear all of them.
No. And that's not me reading through those. I just want to get the gist of that. And if you want to look at when these days and testimonies were heard, definitely go look at the community posts that I do, and I've done for the court dates and stuff like that as well. So we've got to look at what evidence do they have. They have Richard Allen confirming stuff. They have Richard Allen telling Dan Dolan when he's there. They've got Richard Allen's car seen at Hoosier Harvestore. We've got the girl witnesses that see him. He sees them. He confirms it. It confirms the time of him being there. We've got these people, like I showed you, standing there, who you see for a minute. You go back and like, okay, well, what were they wearing? Well, somebody goes, well, I think he was wearing dark clothes. Maybe he was wearing black jeans. Maybe he wears blue jeans or whatever. But those girls looking at the bridge guy photo later, when they see it, they say, yes, that's the same guy who passed them. You've got, the sound, the videos. You've got the bullet. And even let's throw out the bullet. Let's pretend we throw out the bullet. How do you explain the white van? I mean, you've got tons of confessions. You've got you've got his car being there. You've got some eyewitnesses. You've got the time frame. He has no other alibi. He admits the clothing that he's wearing, and it matches what the bridge guy is, literally. Tells all these, tells the psychiatrist that he did it with detail. Tells the police about Mark Weber that he never knew. Tells them about a box knife that they, realized they did find box knives that he had from work that were at his house. Not that a box knife makes you a murderer, but he's the one who turned in about a box knife. And then you've also got the notation of that later on, they realize that he goes in, and when he goes to renew his license for fishing, that Dan Dolan says when he looks at it, he does notate that he changes his weight and his height. Well, I don't know about you guys, but your weight can be altered on stuff, but when do you suddenly grow as an adult 2 inches? I mean, why would you do that?
Weird.
I don't know. Now, I put up a poll in the community post asking whether you think the jury is going to find him innocent or guilty. And I put just plain guilty, whether guilty of the felony of can they prove he kidnapped them?
Yeah, can they prove that he's bridge guy?
Because that's the felony murder. And can they prove the murders? And if they can prove it, do they have DNA? No, they did not have usable DNA to match to Richard Allen. They don't have it. So we all expect DNA, but how many cases do we know of that don't have DNA?
Yeah.
And back in the day, I mean, I'm going to say it almost 2 ways. Back in the day, we did all kinds of cases that nobody had DNA back in the day. They didn't have DNA. Yeah. Now, did they have people who were convicted who ended up innocent? Yes, but guess what proves some of them innocent? DNA. So when you have all of this and he can't say where he is, and he's there during the time of the murders with the 3 girls and Betsy Blair, which are the 2 best witnesses, and a Hoosier Harvestore camera. And I'll even throw out the bullet. Let's throw out the bullet. But then you've got the van. So please, we would love for you to comment under this video. Oh, I'm always bad at this. Hit the like button. Please hit subscribe. I'm not monetized. It's all love when you give me likes and subscribe to find out more about what's going on and other cases that we're trying to help. But we are curious, what are your thoughts? What do you think is good at solid evidence the state has? What do you think isn't? What do you think if you think that the defense proved something different that throws out something here? We would love to hear that from you in a respectable manner. If you want to say whether you think he's guilty or innocent, please go to the community post also. Click on that and let us know.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, this case is about justice for Abby and Libby. These 2 little girls went to that beautiful park to have fun.
And think about the timing. They were dropped off at 1:48, and by 2:13, they were recording a video of their abductor and murderer.
Absolutely. And you've got, I think Dan Dolan saying that he didn't think anything was suspicious about, or, didn't think about him again. Really? Now you bring up that he wouldn't he said, he calls him the day before he meets him and says, well, I'll come to your house. Nope. I don't want you to come to my house. Well, why don't you meet with the police? Nope. Why don't you meet me at the, Save-A-Lot, which I promised I would show that. And I will do so really quickly. Show this here. Here we go. This map. I'll go back out. Here's Delphi. Most of these, the MONON High Bridge. Other ones are the pedophiles who have been arrested in Delphi. This is Richard Allen's house right here. Now, remember, the reason that they searched Brad Weber's house is they wondered if the girls would go home. So if you see the MONON High Bridge over here to the top right, and you go down, this is where Brad Weber's address is right here. If you go down this road, that would have been where Abby lived. And they thought maybe she would have walked home from there. Well, look how close Abby lived near Richard Allen. From over here to here. Just right through there. So they thought maybe she could walk home. She would have just came down 625. But I'm going to go over here. This is what I want to show you real quick. This is the Save-A-Lot. So this is where they live. We're across the highway here. Going across. Going over to the CVS. Make sure I have it in here well enough. So here's the CVS where Richard Allen worked. You've seen a million pictures of it. Here is the Save-A-Lot. Now, he didn't want to go meet at the Carroll County Police Department, which was close by, and he didn't want him coming to his house. So there's the sheriff's office right here. Carroll County Sheriff's Office. There's the CVS. He doesn't want to meet him here, and he doesn't want to meet him back at his house, which I showed you way over there. But here's the Save-A-Lot place. By the way, I ate at that McDonald's the last time I was there. So he doesn't want him to come over there. Why? He said he told his wife he was there. But there's the Save-A-Lot that he met him in that parking lot to tell him what's going on, to tell him to self-report of what's happening. But we've got to remember that this is about two murdered girls, and we just want the truth and justice. That's what we're here for. That's what this is all about.
Yeah.
So is there anything we didn't cover, Paige, Miss Paige?
Not that I have here. No, I think we've covered everything.
Well, I know I appreciate Paige, as you know, on her time zone. She's 5 hours ahead of Eastern. So I appreciate her doing a midnighter here with me and going over. And we hope that, we wanted to provide you some insight of what everything looked like, what the images were, what the witnesses would have seen, how close everything was, how close the trail was, how small on 300 North would be if somebody's approaching you from that standpoint, what the cemetery looked like in location, and
how easy it is to conceal someone's vehicle or whatever in that location.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's a lot more stuff going on, but because we know they're in deliberation, we thought, let's talk about this.
Yeah, why don't we talk about what's on our minds? Right.
And we want to hear what's on your minds. What are you worried about? What do you think the state did well or didn't do well? Trust me, we'll have a video on screw-ups too when this is all over. Because there's a lot of stuff that slipped through. But in the evidence that we know that jurors heard that are not influenced by anything else, they only hear what they hear. So, and I'd say this, the defense closed way earlier than they were supposed to. Remember, they did tell Judge Gull they wanted till the 15th of November. Now, they didn't get to present any Odinist theory, and they wouldn't leave the Odinist theory.
No.
I don't know
Up
why they
until the
wouldn't leave
very
the
end.
Odinist theory. All they had to do is create a reasonable doubt. And like I've shared with all of you before, I think they had a very easy opportunity to create reasonable doubt without bringing up Odinist stuff. They could have very easily done it, but it didn't happen. So, well, thank you, Miss Page, for being up here. I always appreciate you.
Thank you. I always love being here, you know.
And we want to thank all of you guys for being here on the video, joining us tonight, talking about this.
We've got a good chat here.
Yep, we know that the jury will go back in tomorrow. We just pray for justice and pray for the families and pray for
Abby
it
and Libby.
to come out the outcome, you know, at least the right outcome. So we want to thank everybody, Shane, Cryptex, Nana, all of you guys. Just thank you so much all for being here. Please don't forget to hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button. It means a great deal to us and helps us know that you at least like what we're doing. Give us some comments as well. Check out the community page. And we appreciate all of you very, very much. So thank you guys for joining us. Me, Miss Page, and thank you for making sure that justice is served daily. Good night, everybody.
Good night.